When I think about South Africa now, and particularly the Western Cape, I think that next year's election is going to be an important one because our country is in trouble. Our country is facing a lot of challenges. The economy is we're running into a huge amount of debt at the moment. Business is stagnating. And people are feeling this in their homes. Food prices are sky high. We don't have a secure supply of energy, and yet electricity tariffs are going up 15-17% at the same time. And sometimes one wonders, like, what kind of province, what kind of country are we going to leave for our children especially? With all the challenges, energy, electricity, load shedding, crime, people not feeling safe in their own houses. With all those challenges, we still got a lot of good and a lot of potential in this province and in this country. And it's for us to make sure that we actually tap into that positiveness. I mean, we're sitting here in a small business, do people trying their best, trying to make ends meet. You guys doing this, another small business. So across the country, there are small businesses that what government should actually be doing is supporting these initiatives, supporting small businesses to try and make this work. And so what I feel, often people ask me, why do you still support the ANC? I mean, they corrupt. They haven't fixed our problems in the last 30 years. And yet for many, many people out there, life has changed for the better. It's very difficult for us who didn't maybe have a house in 1994 to hear a statistic that the ANC built over 1 million houses. But that statistic becomes real to you when you're actually living in one of those houses. When you grew up in a house with a toilet inside the house, where you didn't need to walk at night to go to the bathroom, it doesn't make a difference. But when we hear that the ANC has delivered, the ANC is building houses, that makes a difference to those people hearing. We know of 9 million children, for example, who are getting fed every single day at school. These are no-fee schools, poor children. And so all of these things, at the end of the day, when one looks at it, what are the parties out there that has been what are they offering? We know the DA covers for a few and a minority of people. They don't attract the majority. We have the EFF, and they are certainly growing. But I think what is important, especially for the stability of the country, for social cohesion, for just keeping everybody sober and for keeping everybody in play, is the ANC. There should be very little doubt that if the ANC goes, this country is going to go into chaos, as we've seen in places such as Johannesburg, in places such as Tshwane, where there's coalitions. So I think it's important for us just to put that in perspective, that at the end of the day, we've got a lot going for us in this country, in this province. And things are tough, yes. People are struggling with food prices, with energy prices, with petrol, with jobs, lack of jobs. But I think that what is important for us is to, next year when we make the choice, because on that day all of us are free. The unemployed, even the man, we all just get one vote. And that's why it's important for people not only to register to vote, but actually to go out and vote and make a difference not in their lives, but in somebody else's life. The other day I was told that, at the moment we're in an audio-visual age. There was a time that people were in a visual age where they used to read a lot. Then the radio was introduced, so they would listen to the radio. Then TV came along, and TV just set off this audio-visual age. So a couple of hundred of years ago, visual would have been what we looked at, and primarily people used to, read stories. It's like when I give my brother a book that's in another language, he says, "But I can't read this language." I say, "But don't you know how to read a story just based on the pictures?" You know? So it's very difficult to say that to you. I was introduced to a book, I haven't read it yet, by a psychologist called Wabi Long. And the reason why he wrote this book, and I'm very interested in that, is because when you pick up the newspaper or listen on TV, we're always complaining about our problems, but we never ask ourselves, what is the cause of this problem? So for example, you watch news and people will talk about road rage. Now road rage, together with gender-based violence, together with contact crime, what we call contact crime, that's between people. This is all signs of a nation that is very angry. People are angry. So he comes home on a Friday night, he's drunk, now he starts to hit his wife or his girlfriend or abuse his girlfriend. And even the way that some of these women are murdered, I mean, it's the most vicious ways. They set them alight. The latest cases, they set them alight. I don't know if you saw the case of the student stabbing his wife the other day at Cape Tech or Pentech or CPUT it's called now. That's right, yeah. And you know, so much rage. And why is it? And so what Wabi Long does is he goes into that emotion of rage. Why are we an angry country? But then on the other hand, like Alan Busak says, we are a nation of extremes. So we go from the euphoria of the World Cup. Now suddenly we're all united. It's like we drunk with unity and everybody is together. And it's almost like an ecstasy. And then, but on the other hand, there's this other emotions. So I haven't read the book yet, but I think that it will be a worthwhile read to try and understand why we experience, and especially for those of us who are interested in emotional well-being and emotional. I think it's a good book, and it's called Nation on the Couch. Because South Africa is actually on the couch. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture. There's a picture of a little girl sitting on the street, and a few meters away from her is a body covered. And it happened, I think, in Elsie's River or even in Mitchell's Plain. So that picture is there. She's sitting and reading on the street, and like I say, a few meters away, there's a body covered. Somebody had been shot. And the story of that picture is that, you know, violence in South African society has become so normalized. So if you get mugged, if you get shot at, if somebody gets killed, we're so normal with that. And yet it's supposed to be something abnormal for us. A part of the problem with it becoming normal is that many of us, especially that young girl, the trauma that she must have gone through, it just becomes part of life. And we don't actually deal with that trauma. And I think that is part of the trouble, because often that trauma will research later in life, when that girl has her own children and she starts to become violent with them. And I'm not saying that she particularly will do that, but that's often the cause of it, because she hasn't worked through her own trauma of life. The solution to that would be through our education system. And like I say, at the moment the ANC is concentrating on making sure that 9 million children are being fed every single day. But I think that there are a lot of imbalances in our education system. That the children attending Westerford and Sachs and Wynberg, their concern is not ducking for bullets or safety, as the children are in Duneside Primary. So very recently, actually, Duneside Primary came to our attention, because there's no fencing, etc. And that's a real, that they've got to real, I mean, the faces, so that a child in Manenberg must duck bullets, and the teacher must be careful of who comes onto the school premises, because the person might cause violence. Whereas for children in Westerford or Grootskier or these Merritt College, they don't need to worry about those trauma. And that's the inequality, because why is one child deserving of that and not the other. All our children are equal, and that was supposed to be the promise. So we've got still a lot of challenges still in education. But I think what is important now is to get the basics right in that education. And of course, needless to say that education is what we call a provincial competency. So it primarily lies with the DA in the Western Cape. I mean, for example, one of the big demands that the ANC has been making in the last 4.5 years, particularly in the Western Cape, is that we need to get unemployed social workers to go into our schools. And the department must find the funding to go and work with children who are traumatized, who are going through that. They haven't taken us up on that. So again, you have schools which are in the leafy suburbs, former model schools. Their governing body can afford to appoint a counsellor, school counsellor. But children attending Nelson Mandela High, Bonteheuwel High, Mannenberg High, they've got to sit through that trauma, and the counsellor, the circuit counsellor, might come once every 6 months.
How is this? Thank you.
Oh, we're going to eat now. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, thanks. Let's do that. Thank you very much. Thanks, Miles.